Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Friday, February the 17th, and welcome to our commentary. Well, we're going to talk a little bit today about Governor Abbott. And like in many states, the governor has a state of the state speech, sort of like the State of the Union that we saw from President Biden. This is something that the governors do. And our Governor Abbott gave his speech on Thursday night. And some people, with good reason, are speculating that Governor Abbott may be thinking about running for president. I don't think that's a crazy idea. Now, I'll give you my thoughts on that in a minute. But let's talk a little bit about what he said uh, about. Uh, about the situation here in Texas. First of all, the strongest situation or the strongest card, if you will, that Governor Abbott has is the Texas economy. This is an incredible thing to say, but it's true. And I sometimes you have to think there and ask yourself, wow, is that really so? Yes, it is true. Texas has the ninth largest economy in the world. We're talking here about GDP. That is, I mean, you just think about that for a second, and it's just remarkable that this state of 30 million people has the ninth largest GDP in the world, and it's a great testament to the business policies and to the tax policies of the state of Texas. So, from the standpoint of Texas, I mean, obviously Abbott or Governor Abbott had a good story to tell, and the good story is we're creating all these jobs, and all these people are moving into our state, and that's a story that any governor would love to tell. That's a story that any president would love to tell. So that is really the strongest card that he has as a governor. The idea that he can say, you know what, we have the ninth largest GDP in the world, and we have so many thousands, almost a million new jobs that we've created. That's a great story to tell. He also talked a little bit about the budget surplus. Our great economy has given us a budget surplus of $32 billion. $32 billion budget surplus. That's bigger than the GDP of many countries. And how to spend or how to refund really that $32 billion is obviously one of the contentious issues in in the legislature right now. We're in a legislative session right now here in Texas. We have a session every 2 years. And what to do with that $32 billion is a big topic for debate. The governor, and I think he's right about this, would like to give a big portion of that back to the citizens through property taxes, meaning that it's sort of like a refund that you would get through your property taxes. I think at this time, that may be a very good idea because of inflation. Inflation has eroded, the purchasing power of people. Certainly, the family budgets have been strained by inflation. So I think using that money to give it back to the people of Texas through property taxes is not only politically a smart thing to do, but I think even from the standpoint of the economy, giving people a little relief, homeowners, that is, or property owners, a little relief. I think that's a very smart thing to do, and I support that. Now, having said that, I also feel that we got to take some of that money in the surplus and see how we can invest it in our power grid infrastructure. You may remember a couple of years ago, in fact, it was a couple of years ago today, that we were hit in Texas with a terrible winter storm that literally shut down electricity. And I mean, it was terrible. People were stuck in their homes freezing because the electricity wasn't running or it would come on for 3 hours or something like that. It was a terrible experience. And there was a breakdown in the power grid. I think it may have been a case of too much demand and not enough supply. So that was a terrible thing to have to live through. And obviously, the power grid has been a political topic ever since. And I believe very strongly that we have to invest in our power grid. Now, some of those investments are going to be private, some of those investments are going to be public. So it's going to be a combination of both. But we have to make sure that we produce enough electricity in Texas. Where the energy comes from, I really don't care. I think that most of it is going to have to come from fossil fuels or coal, because that's the reality at the moment. But I'm not opposed to renewables if they work. So, I'm not, upset to all of that. I think we should get energy from all of the above, as they like to say. But definitely, we need to spend some money on the power grid, and I hope the legislature will do that. Another big point in the speech was school choice. And this is where I think most states run by Republican governors or legislatures are going. I think school choice is here, and school choice is here to stay. So Texas will probably have some type of a school choice option. The Democrats' opposition to school choice is that we're going to destroy public education. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. There may be, and this is just reality, if parents, take kids out of the public education and put them in private options or homeschooling or whatever, you may have to consolidate some school districts. That's probably true. And for example, the number of high schools may have to be consolidated or whatever. That's probably true. But that doesn't mean that it's going to end. It just means that there will be less high schools, I suppose, for people to go to. But there are still going to be public options. I also think, frankly, that I think most parents, if given the power to choose a school, I think most of them will choose a school of their choice, not just a public school, but maybe some other private schools, because that's the other thing. If you have school choice, you're going to have a big boom in private school options. There's going to be all kinds of new businesses, new schools opening up, catering to that school choice parent. So a lot of good things are going to happen because of school choice. And the biggest winner, I think, is going to be the parents, who are going to have a lot to say about the schools that they're sending their kids to. But we're going in that direction. There's no question in my mind that we're going in that direction. The Democrats were also critical of the governor because he didn't say anything about Uvalde. Uvalde, of course, is what happened about 10 months ago here in Texas, where a guy, if you remember, went into a school with a couple of weapons and killed about 20 kids. Horrible situation. The Democrats were critical. I'm not exactly sure what the governor can say or do about what happened in Uvalde, because what the Democrats are really trying to do is gun control, and that's never going to fly politically. So I am in favor of more security in the schools, more guards in the schools. I'm even in favor of some teachers having guns. I have no problem with that. But the Democrats are pushing the gun control agenda, and at least here in Texas and in most Republican states, and frankly, I think in most states, is not going to fly. So overall, that was the speech. A lot of people are speculating about his presidential aspirations. He has not publicly said anything, which is a smart thing to do. But I think he could be the candidate in waiting if DeSantis or Trump, who are the two front runners right now, if there's a problem there and both are out, or one is out, or the party's looking for another option, I could see somebody like Abbott stepping into that hole. The same with Youngkin in Virginia. That's another one that could step in. But that's way ahead right now. That's 6 months down the road. But I would not discount the possibility of Governor Abbott being a candidate for president in 2024. There's so much time left. And you've got a big Texas primary coming up. Remember that. In March of next year, there's going to be a big Texas primary. And if Governor Abbott were to win that, let's say as a candidate, man, he's right in because of the number of delegates that are going to come from that primary. So a lot of stuff up in the air, obviously, about 2024. But I am one of those. I like Governor Abbott. I like the way he speaks. I like the way he presents himself. And I think if the country has an opportunity to see him, they may like him as well. But again, it's a long shot right now because of DeSantis and Trump ahead of him. I don't see Abbott as vice president for the simple reason that he doesn't add anything you don't already have. In other words, you're going to get Texas, so there's no reason for a presidential candidate to look for a vice president from Texas. So I don't see that happening. I think Youngkin of Virginia would be a better choice for vice president than Governor Abbott. But you have to think about Governor Abbott as a potential presidential presidential choice. I'm sure you're all familiar with what's going on at CNN with Don Lemon and this remark that he made about women over 40. Look, I think it was a stupid thing to say. I know he's apologized, and that's fine. But I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the last of the story for Don Lemon. I wouldn't be surprised if CNN says, "Look, we've been trying to get rid of this guy because he doesn't. Nobody watches him anyway. So let's use this opportunity to get rid of him." And I have a tweet today saying that Nikki Haley won't be president or vice president, but she'll be remembered as the woman who took out Don Lemon over at CNN. And the people at CNN are probably going to be very happy with that because I have to believe they're trying to get rid of this guy. Again, he doesn't get ratings. They have to move him to the morning because he's a problem. He doesn't get ratings. And if you're in the television business and you don't get ratings, well, you're not going to survive. So this may be the end of the road for Don Lemon. If it isn't, it doesn't matter to me one way or the other. I'm not watching it, but I think he really stepped on it when he made those remarks about women. Now he's trying to back it, go back on it and apologize. But why he said it in the first place is beyond me. I mean, just absolutely beyond me. Well, a sad note, Senator Fetterman of Pennsylvania is back in the hospital for the second time, I guess, in 2 weeks. This is the senator from Pennsylvania. Look, we wish him well. This is not about politics anymore. This is about his health. I do think, as I've said many times before, that it was a huge mistake for him to run for the Senate. I think his family should have insisted on him saying, hey, forget about 2022. Let's go for 2024, which I think would have been a much easier thing for him to do as far as his health. But the party, and I don't know if anybody else, maybe his wife, I don't know. They didn't stop him. And now we have a senator from Pennsylvania who is not well. And they may have done him more damage by running that race. I hate to say this, but I just think that it was a terrible thing to do to a man. I wouldn't vote for John Fetterman, but again, he's in bad health and he needs to get out and go into some kind of, just get out of politics and rest for a while and maybe try it again later. But he's not doing well. He's back in the hospital now, apparently for what they call clinical depression. I don't know what that is, but he's back in the hospital for that. One quick note as we say goodbye today, Friday. I want to say happy number 87 to Jim Brown. If you're a football fan, then you know who Jim Brown is. He was the running back for the Cleveland Browns back in the 1960s. Many people say he was the greatest running back in NFL history. And if you look at the numbers, he certainly was. He retired very early. Probably could have played another 5 years, but he retired early, went to make some movies. In fact, he made a movie with Raquel Welch, the lady who passed away a couple of days ago. But Jim Brown, happy number 87, man, was he a great runner. He was just an absolutely great runner. Thank you for listening. This is Silvio Canto. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you the next time. Bye-bye, everybody.